Hello, and today we're going to talk about present simple, or sometimes it's called present indefinite. So, this tense is used when we talk about things that we do every day, from time to time, usually, often, always, things that we do rarely or never do. So these are the things that are kind of about our life, about our habits, about our daily routine. We talk when we talk about some just natural facts. Yeah, something happens every year, something happens every season. So things that are typical, normal, usual, and constant. Yeah, so we use the tense which is called present simple or present indefinite. Well, it's quite simple to structure the sentence with present simple because all you need is your subject, and the subject is someone or something that does the action. For example, I teach English. That's my job. I as a subject, teach as a verb, and then English. Yeah, it's object. So we need to structure a sentence following this pattern: subject, verb, object, and some other details. Subject sometimes is not clear, so we don't say I or you or he or she or we or you as a group or they. Sometimes we just don't know what subject to use. In this case, chances are we need it, and it can replace anything. For example, a book we can replace with it. We can replace animals, a dog, it. And when we talk about time, weather, distance, we also use it. It snows in winter, so the subject is it. It rains in autumn, the subject is it. It's 10 o'clock time. So it's very important to follow the pattern: subject, verb, object. Sometimes we don't need the object. I can say just I teach. That's what I do. What do you do? I teach. I teach English. And it's very easy, right? So I can say about myself: I teach, I do sports, I have a family, I live in Montenegro, like ice cream. Yeah, so I can talk about myself quite a lot, about what I like to do, what I often do. But it's a little bit more difficult when we need to make a negative sentence. So when we want to say that we don't do it, and then we need this do. Yeah, we need this do not to make a negative. For example, I don't live in London. Yeah, I don't like mushrooms. I don't have a bicycle, or maybe I do. I don't remember. I don't remember. So we need this don't. So when I say I don't. I don't teach French. I teach English. But it's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit tricky. That's why many people really struggle with present simple. You think it's simple, it's the most basic, but then this mistake, I think it's like top number one mistake that everyone makes if you are not a native speaker of English. So the problem is that when we talk about somebody, a man or a woman, a boy, a girl, or something, a car, we need to change the verb. That's the only difficult part in here. So we can say, I live, but my husband lives. He lives. I like ice cream. My daughter likes. She likes. What can I say with it? Let me think. Okay, a dog has, have becomes has. It's a little bit irregular here. So it's not have plus as, but has. A dog has a tail. So this as we need to put to the verb when we talk about he, a man, a boy, she, a woman, a girl, and it, some animal or something. So don't forget to put s. And when we make a negative for these guys, he, she, it, we also need to make some changes. So be careful. I don't live in London. My husband doesn't live in London because he lives in Montenegro with me. Our daughter doesn't like mushrooms. I don't like mushrooms, and my daughter doesn't like mushrooms. And when you practice present simple, make sure that you practice talking about yourself and also talking about your family, your friends, because you will use he or she, right? In this case, my daughter, my husband, my wife, my friend, my colleague, my manager. So make as many examples as possible with different pronouns, I, you, he, she, it, some item, we as a family, as a team, we, and they, people. So practice with different forms, positive and negative. And the more examples you make, the better it will be, and you will start to structure sentences faster and faster and faster without thinking. I live, he lives. I don't live, he doesn't live. Yeah? So play with that. And finally, questions. Questions are so important because when we talk to people, we ask each other questions like, where do you live? What do you like? Yeah, so we often ask questions. And when we meet new people, we want to know a little bit more about their life. What do they do for life? What do they like to do in their free time? Do they do any sports? Do they eat any kind of food, right? So it's very important to practice asking questions. And in order to structure a question, you also have to be very careful because you have to follow a very strict pattern, right? So you cannot just say some random words and hope people will understand. So you need to make sure that you have everything in the right place. It's called word order. So when you say, okay, first I say this, then I say this, then I say this, then I say this. And at first it feels a little bit automatic, but then as the more you practice, the easier it is for you. So how to make a question in present simple? It's very simple. You also need this do, and you can ask questions like, do you like, do I like, do we like, do they like? Yeah, so it's always do, except, of course, he, she, it. So when you ask about someone's wife or someone's friend or someone's daughter, someone's manager, he or she, you will ask does. Does he like? Does she like? Do you? Do we? Do they? Do I like? But does she like? Does he like? Does it? Does it help? Does it help? For example, a person told you about their sport, which helps them to be more healthy. So you can say, oh, really? Do you practice yoga? Does it help? Does it help? Yeah. So, and when you have question words like what, when, where, how much, how long, how big, why. So when you have question words, you need to start a question with the question word. So, for example, what do you like? What do you eat? Where do you live? And the same, you can ask about someone's friend. Where does he live? What does she like? Why does she do this? Yeah, so practice, make as many questions as you can, and practice makes perfect. Happy studies!